a GREENPOINT Williamsburg Public Affairs presentation. This is Neighborhoods Today.
Welcome to another edition of Neighborhoods Today. I'm Rena Marie Peltz. You know, I bet you never really associated childcare with the YMCA. Well, think again. The local GREENPOINT YMCA offers accredited childcare programs and activities as well as all its other services. Today I'll be talking with the Director of Childcare Development at the GREENPOINT YMCA, Ann Hayes. So stay with us. We'll be right back with that interview.
Protect yourself and others from COVID-19. Stay home and help stop the spread of the coronavirus by connecting with friends or loved ones through phone or video chat, engaging with family and finding new ways to enjoy this time together. Stay home, and together we can save lives. For more information, visit scdhec.gov/COVID-19.
Ann Hayes, welcome to Neighborhoods Today.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
What exactly does the Director of Childcare Development do at the GREENPOINT YMCA?
Well, I like the title because it really kind of fits what I do. I oversee a preschool program. I oversee the after-school program, summer day camp. We have some toddler programs that we run. We have a tot lot, which is an informal drop-in play group twice a week. And I guess I also help out with some family programming, and I hope I'm not missing anything. Basically, anything that involves children and families.
Right. Well, when you first came to the GREENPOINT Y, how did you begin to assess what you needed to do first?
Well, basically, just by observing, for one. I sat down and I met with every single staff person who was involved in childcare. That was in both preschool and after school. Just to get a sense of where they were at, how they thought things were going, what some of their goals were, and to give me a better understanding of, where do I go from here.
Did you find that you really had a lot of work to do? I don't know what all of these programs that you mentioned were like before you came aboard. What were they like, or where were they at in terms of contents and viability, I guess?
Yes, speaking in particular to the preschool program in the GREENPOINT community has had for a number of years a very reputable, I'm not saying it correctly, but a wonderful reputation and a very special kind of philosophy that meets the desires and needs of the families in this community. And I contribute a lot of that, and I attribute that to Hollis Yokin, and I have a great deal of respect for her for developing such a program. When I came to the Y, the program was floundering somewhat, and a big reason for that was because Hollis had left about 5 months before to join the Board of Education, and also two of their very good teachers in the program. So there was a lot of concern from the families and the community alike, and the teachers as well, that had remained behind as far as, can we maintain the quality of this program? And I think the lack of leadership certainly didn't help as far as the transition. When I came in, I'm still learning my position. It was obvious that there needed to be some leadership. There were a lot of staff issues.
So what has that transition been like? It seems as if the preschool program is very popular. There are an awful lot of working parents in the neighborhood, and especially working mothers. So how have you dealt with the new numbers in terms of more children wanting to become part of the preschool program, or parents wanting to get their children into the program?
Well, right now, actually we're below enrollment in a full-day classroom. We have two classrooms, one which is 9 to 12, a half-day program, and one which is a full-day program from 8 to 6, which also serves as a school-day program from 9 to 3:30. I do have to say, I'm really, really pleased at this point of where we've come just in the time that I've been there. I've been there a little bit over a year. I think I've worked a lot on the interpersonal relationships among the teaching staff. I am just very pleased with where we're able to bring it back to, and the type of job right now that each person on the teaching staff is doing. It's fun. You know, the kids are fun. We're just having a good time, and I feel good in saying that, yes, bring your child here. This is a quality program. This is worthwhile. When I first began, I wasn't sure, because, like I said, with the lack of leadership, it frowned a little bit. But I feel great in saying that we're on an upward swing, and I would encourage. Have on-site in the facility, as is the preschool program. We have 31 children right now. It has made tremendous improvements just in the time that I've been there. But there's been a concern, there's been a lot of turnover in the coordinator position, which is certainly has been a concern.
Any idea what the reason for something like that might be?
But the reason, I think, well, the pay isn't great. You have to really like doing it for the children. It is a part-time position, but it's also a position that can turn into a full-time. If someone desires that, they could have full-time hours that would involve after-school program and some other type of programming. But part of it is also just, I think I've looked at my interview process again, and I've changed some things. I've involved my child care committee in on the process, and I think I've been able to make some better decisions with some help as far as getting a good quality person in there. Right now, we're just on the tail end of an interview process, and we have a very strong candidate who actually worked for me at the Brooklyn Central Y, moved out to Long Island, and came back and called me up, and I said, "Oh, God has answered my prayers.
Thank
this
you.
woman is wonderful." And we have a really strong staff right now. We just need that leadership piece, and I really feel like we can really move ahead strongly. So I'm very hopeful, and I just feel really good about what we've got coming.
Good luck. In terms of curriculum for both the preschool program and the after-school program, is it just play and that type of thing, or do you have some kind of specific curriculum in place for the kids?
Well, first starting with preschool, a lot of people, they think of, okay, that it's a daycare or it's a nursery, and we take a lot of pride in we're not a daycare. Yes, we have that daycare component for parents who need it, and that's why we're there till 6. But we're a preschool, and we take pride in the creativity of the teachers and their resourcefulness in coming up with ingenious ideas and very creative ideas, and different themes and projects and activities that motivate the children, and also and incorporate the foundational studies that you need to, like the pre-literary skills or even literary skills, science, math, social studies, and doing it in a fun way.
So then it's not just a play group.
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, I would encourage anybody to come down and observe, and I think they'd be amazed at what these kids can do. They're multi-age classrooms, and it's set up so that children are allowed to explore different areas in the classroom. They're allowed to explore at a pace that's comfortable for them, so it's individualized in that sense, and yet the teachers encourage children to explore different areas. In other words, you're never going to have a child who's always at the easel painting.
Sure.
We're going to be encouraging them to work in different areas of the classroom. And we do also have a couple of structured times that we add into the day, just to give that even balance. After school, the curriculum is, obviously it's going to be a little bit more lax. It's not because they're in school all day, but we want to have meaningful, enjoyable activities. We're just finally making a contact with the library, and I'd like to be doing some library trips. They do some of their own activities which are open to the public. Weird science
Weird science, did you say?
Weird science.
What's that?
Yes. Doing different types of fun, type of science activities, and those. In fact, we might have even give it a different type of name, like Mad Science Time or something, so that the kids, okay, it's science and they're learning from it, but they don't realize that they're doing it. So
That's probably one of the best ways to learn. You don't realize that you're actually learning something, but you are, you know?
and I think because of my special ed background, I've always had to find ways to teach really boring information that was important for children, but in a really kind of fun and creative way. And I feel like that's something that can be done in after school. The kids can have fun doing it, and they're still learning even though they've left for the school day.
Well, it's got to be great for the kids to be in that kind of environment around other kids also. That's got to help.
Little children are amazed by the simplest things. I think they like it even more if they can have some responsibility in feeding the animals and in caring for the animals. But yeah, the children love animals, I find.
Tot Lot, that is another program. What is that?
Tot Lot is an informal drop-in play group. It's twice a week. We host it down in the after-school room. It's 9:30 to 11:30 on Mondays and Thursdays. And basically, it's parents who can come in, or child care providers who come in. And the children can be anywhere from birth, usually up until age 3, sometimes a little beyond if they want. And the children come together. We have toys set up, and they play and they interact. And it's a good opportunity for parents to network and maybe set up play dates to find out what's going on in the community as far as child care and services for their children, and learn more about the why. I just want to mention on a side is that last year we used to average about 15 children and with all their parents on these days. This year it's been an average of 5 or 6, which is a little bit disappointing, and I don't know exactly what to attribute that to. I'm guessing maybe the weather. Maybe parents are looking for some kind of more formal programming for that age. So I just recently put an ad in the Gazette and asked, I just want to put something out if there's anyone out there who has any background, any interest in doing some program with infants, toddlers. I've got the time, and I think we definitely have the interest in the community, so I encourage anyone who's interested.
Most definitely, and it sounds like a great way for parents, especially a new parent, first-time parent. I see from watching my own family members, not the easiest thing in the world. As much as you love kids and you love each other, it's tough. First-time parent, and it's nice to kind of meet other parents that are in the same position, so you can kind of talk some things out.
Exactly.
Would you ever think of maybe having a Tot Lot group evenings? Or is that too crazy and too stressful for parents as it is?
I find that with that age group, most parents don't want their evenings. I mean, if they have children that young, they're probably breastfeeding or probably putting them to bed. So an evening is not really something that really fits their schedules. I think the mornings work out very nicely.
You see, I'm giving myself away. You can tell I'm not a parent. Because if I were a parent, I would know that, wouldn't I? Oh well, next time maybe. You have swimming and gymnastics, or some kind of gym classes for toddlers as well?
Yes, those are the toddler programs that Teresa Matusiak, one of our teachers in the preschool, does. And she's been doing it at least a couple of years now, and it's gotten to the point where I need to add another class for the art and gym component. Because it's just top-notch the way she runs these classes.
Now, are these classes during the day?
During the day. During the day. Let me give you an example. The art and gym, for example, we'll have 45 minutes of art. We shall have at least 3 different art activities, along with an easel set up for the children. And it usually has some type of theme going. And she introduces each one, and the children kind of move from area to area, table to table. And then they have the gym component, and that can include anything from relays to working with a parachute, to finger plays, to songs, to stories. Basically just getting the kids to interact, working on the socialization skills, gross motor skills.
That's great.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
What do you feel are probably the major areas that you have made the biggest changes in since coming to the Greenpoint YMCA and kind of looking at all of the programs and figuring out what you needed to do, where you needed to do it? Where have you made the most changes initially?
I think biggest change I've made, the first thing I think of is just working on and tackling some of the interpersonal issues that I saw initially in the preschool program, and I really feel that that's come around full circle, and it's just an absolute pleasure right now working with the staff. I also think that I've done a lot to try to reach out to the community, and I'm just doing more, even more now, to work with other child providing centers, just maybe to work on some collaborative projects. Maybe they have some information that I don't have. Maybe we just tell each other about trainings that are upcoming.
Well, what other ways can you get the word out to the community? Local advertisements? Is it just way of mouth? I mean, what's...
The child care programs that have a history of the word of mouth seems to be the best way that people learn about any of the child care programs, which is why it's so important that they are quality programs and that you maintain that quality, because you want people to walk away satisfied so that they're sharing that information with others.
And in terms of things that you haven't quite changed yet, but are looking at and might like to change, let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, after school, like I said, it's improved greatly, but I still think there's room for even more improvement, and I think once I get this person in with the strong staff behind them, I think we're going to see some great things, and we've already seen some really nice things, but I think we're going to I think it makes us, I don't want to sound silly, but like a premier program.
Sure.
Because I have some very high standards, and as far as what I'd like to see, and I think I'm finally going to have the leadership with the strong support of the staff to make it happen.
And leadership is important. It's very important. If you don't have the leadership, you know, from the top down, this, you know, the good old trickle-down theory, if you don't have the leadership up here in management, then any kind of organization, focus and structure, then the people that are working for you and with you aren't, you know, going to feel any of that kind of structure in terms of what you want, what you're looking for. I'm also wondering about your staff. You talked a little bit about some of your staff. You feel they're really top-notch people. What is it that you look for when you want someone to work for you and with you, especially when it comes to working with kids? Because that's, you know, it's such an important job.
There are a lot of things I look for. The most important thing is that when they come in to see me is, do they look happy? Do they look upbeat? Do they look like the type of person who could have fun with children? They look like the kind of person who could let their hair down and just get down on the floor and get down and dirty and play with Play-Doh or whatever it may be, or get paint all over them. Of course, the education is important too. They look like somebody who agrees with the philosophy of what the Y program is about, or what the preschool is about, or what after school is about. Do they look like somebody who has good communication skills, who looks like they would be a good support system that would be open to suggestions, flexibility. I say all this because these are a lot of things that I go over in some of my interviews, and it's an automatic. I ask them for their strengths, and usually the type of response I get tells me, oh, okay, you know, this might be a fit.
Might be contender. I think the other component of the why, which is really interesting in terms of the child care, is, do you find that some parents maybe have had concerns with child care in terms of, or in relation to the fact that there are residents in the YMCA, it's like a single SROs. Has that ever been an issue, and if so, how do you deal with that?
Oh, sure, that's been an issue. That's been an issue. It's been much less of an issue, I think, than it has in the past. I think that the Y professional staff on a whole has really clamped down on that. I know when I first began, it came up often as an issue at weekly staff meetings, and we assigned the visit director as a resident director as well, and has been able to address a lot of those issues. And also the senior program director, Linda Silvestri, came up with a set of policies and procedures and guidelines to say, if this A happens, this is how we need to address it. And they're not allowed to loiter the residents in the lobby. So, and everyone has kind of helped in a combined effort to remind them of that. I think the improvement in the front desk staff, in the type of people that Linda Sylvester has hired has helped. I think there's a lot of different pieces that have helped. We also are making the transition in the residents from permanent residents to guests. I mean, you know, especially within the last 6 months, we've had a lot of international guests, and so there's a different type of clientele. It's more like a hotel than it is a residence, and there's been a lot of upgrading and a lot of improvements. So again, I would encourage anybody to come by and just see those improvements, and maybe stay a night.
Most definitely. Very, very quickly, moving forward, hopes, aspirations in terms of changes you'd like to see?
Definitely. I would like to see preschool full, and I feel very confident for this summer and then for the fall. After school, I'd like to see just a few more children in there. Summer camp, I'd like to see that jump up to at least 75 campers, and I think given the successful summer we had last summer, I think that's more than reasonable. A couple of years ago, we just had probably an average of about 25 campers.
And volunteers?
Excuse me?
And volunteers?
And volunteers, sure. I'm always looking for volunteers.
Excellent.
And always looking to improve the quality. And one of the biggest things, I just want to continue to do more and more to get out into the community, let them know what we're about, solicit that help, look at collaborative efforts, and learn more about other child-serving agencies and see how we can help each other.
Sounds good. And I have a feeling you will do exactly what you said you'd like to do and more. We have just about run out of time. We have run out of time. If you or anyone you know would like a little bit more information about the Greenpoint YMCA, you can reach them at 718-389-3700. Ann Hayes, Child Care Development Director at the Greenpoint YMCA, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to have you here.
Thank you.
Textbook says politicians lead. No, sometimes the people lead, and the politicians follow.
Dr. Nadrowski is here now for the next edition of Health Update. Doctor, good to see you again.
Same here.
There's a lot of concern today regarding lead poisoning, particularly in the schools. It's been in the papers and on television. What causes lead poisoning, Doctor?
Lead poisoning is caused by ingestion of lead. Lead paint and, let's say, water in long-standing lead pipes. And also inhalation, fumes from batteries that are burned in incinerators, and also solid metal, lead metal, that's also burned in incinerators. We're also concerned about our children because now that we have a closure of the school in Greenwich Village, the dust from the lead paint inside of these schools may be a factor in causing lead poisoning.
They were talking about the dust, but also there were like chips of paint, the little chips of paint that come off the ceiling and the wall, and they're supposed to, sometimes they eat those.
Yes, the children who eat it, usually, let's say a little child eats it off the windowsill. That child evidently seems to like it because it's a sweet tasting substance. So they can get lead poisoning that way, and that's the way the children do get it.
What are some of the signs and symptoms that a parent or teacher should look for if someone has lead poisoning?
Yes. There are 4 areas of the body that are affected by lead poisoning: the brain, the peripheral nerves, the abdomen, and also the blood. The main area is the brain, and let's stick to that for a while. If you talk about brain changes where there's swelling, a child may have behavioral changes when the lead level gets high. Behavioral changes, agitation, restlessness, and then maybe some sleeplessness. And the sad part would be if the child goes into a convulsion, stupor, delirium, and coma. That could cause death, and that's unfortunate when high content of lead poisoning is not detected. But we can actually prevent that by making sure that we detect the early signs and having a blood test to make sure that we have that so we can treat it.
Right. Now, those severe causes, those severe problems, that would happen after a while. That's something that wouldn't happen in 2 weeks or a month.
No, it takes a long time
a long
for
time.
lead to accumulate into the body, and then you get your toxic kind of effects like I just mentioned about the brain. But if you do survive, let's say after treatment in the serious patient, for instance, long-standing with a lot of lead, involvement, let's say, with coma, delirium, then you may end up with a person who has mental retardation. And that's the sad part about lead poisoning.
How does one know? Is there any pains? Is there any signs? Would I feel any discomfort if I had lead poison? How would I know if I had it without somebody identifying the symptoms?
Usually the child doesn't have any pain. But in an adult you get an acute abdomen like a perforated ulcer kind of symptoms from lead poisoning. And also you get a wrist drop, let's say, for the neuropathy, which is the nerve damage in muscles area, that like a painter's wrist drop, so to speak. And those are the symptoms. They're not severe, they're not painful, except for the belly problem.
If detected in time, can lead poisoning be treated?
Yes, it can. Once you make the diagnosis, not by signs and symptoms per se, but by a finding in your blood of a high content of lead. The higher content obviously means more symptomatology, more toxicity, so you treat immediately. Once you have a lead level that's high, you treat immediately with chelating agents, C-H-E-L-A-T-I-N-G, which binds the lead and gets rid of the lead that's in the body and reduces the symptoms and treats the patient.
Right, so that if indeed there is a suspicion of lead poisoning, a blood test is definitely recommended.
Not recommended, is a must,
It's a
because
must.
you don't treat unless you really make that diagnosis with lead in the blood.
Fine. Doctor, thank you very much for enlightening us on that. That was very, very important. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
That's it for this edition. For Neighborhoods Today, I'm Dick Mahan. Thank you for watching.